I want to know when you first read the script, what most excited you about the challenge of playing this character?
Well, funnily enough, I read the script, and the first thing I thought was I really like it, but I can't do this, because as it is in the movie is not the script that I read. The script that I read, the character was a straight-up redneck who kind of bulldozes his way into this family's life, and there was no real hint. There was no hint of them attempting to become them in any particular way. So I met Josh, who's our leading man, and the writer, and Jeremy, the director, and I said to them, look, it's a great script, but if you're going to shoot what you've written, then you don't want to employ me. However, if you were interested in employing me, I have a few ideas. And they said, oh, yeah, okay, go ahead. And so I sort of explained to them what I had in mind. And Josh just kind of ran, like I thought he was going to say, thanks a lot, man, but that's a rewrite, and I don't want to do that. He went completely the other way with it. He just like, oh, my God, this is great. We can do this and this and this and this. And so suddenly this whole idea began to sort of formulate. And, we were lucky. We had a few days we could sort of rehearse it before we started shooting, because it was a very fast shoot. We shot it in 18 days. So we had a few days where we could kind of get up and do a few of the scenes and try it out, and it was just Josh was great, I have to say. My hat is off to him, because he did a lot of very, very fast rewriting, and I thought he did it really well as well, considering what it looked like when I first read it to what it ended up being when we shot it.
So what was the main conception, if you could articulate it a bit, the main conception of the character that you had in your mind that you didn't see on the page necessarily at first?
Well, the whole idea that they would attempt to in any way imitate them or become them. I think the only thing that Josh had in the script originally, and perhaps this was where I had got the idea from, was that he spills a drink and he wears one of Mark's shirts. Mm-hmm. And I said, but wouldn't it be great if they, like, by the end they were wearing all of their clothes or something, Wouldn't it be great if they were actually sounding like them? I mean, you can only do it for so much of the movie, because at some point it takes a, very dramatic turn. I just thought it would be fun to explore it, at least for the first half, because I mean, in truth, I have never seen a home invasion movie, but I felt like the other version was quite a traditional take on that, and this idea might be something slightly different that I hadn't seen before. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what impressed me about your performance in particular is the tone of it, because you talk about it was initially conceived as kind of a rednecky part, which I would imagine that would have given itself over to a kind of an over-the-top performance. But you're very contained in this movie, and it's all the creepier for it, I think.
Well, thanks. I haven't seen the film, so I'll have to take your word for it. I remember that we'd shoot, because it's a smaller budget. Josh had cleverly conceived of, essentially putting it all in one house, and some of the scenes are quite long, but it really revolves around 5, maybe 6 main scenes, which were about sort of 7 or 8 pages long. And we would shoot them, the whole scene, which was really good fun, because it was a bit like doing a play. And quite often Jeremy would have the camera was, some distance away from you. So it felt like you weren't really, I just tried to make it so we weren't really acting. You just try to play it for real. Obviously that gets a little harder towards the scenes at the end, because, it becomes pretty intense. But certainly for those early scenes, we just... I do remember really enjoying doing the awkward dinner party scene.
Well, that's another thing that makes it unique, is that it seems like the movie is filled with very intimate scene work. And the way you're saying that it was shot, I for the most part, I would imagine that it allows you to kind of play an emotional through line in a scene, because movies typically are just stop and start, seconds at a time, aren't they? I mean,
right.
That's really
normally movies are made up of 2-page scenes that you shoot, and then another bit, and another bit, and another bit. And this was, almost the opposite. It was, I'm trying to think if we shot it sequentially. I'm not sure that we did. Definitely shot the end at the end. We shot it semi-sequentially, which helps. But yeah, having like 7 or 8 pages in one go was just wonderful, And also it was, we've all, I suppose, been in those moments that have been really awkward, where you're having a conversation with someone and you're being really nice, and then you sort of finally think, I'm sure this is a particularly pleasant person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I kind of relished the silences, particularly, I think there's a scene with Selma where we're cutting up meat or something, and I just loved the look on her face when I wouldn't say something, and we kind of played around with it a little bit. And I mean, as I say, I haven't seen the finished film, so I don't know what's in and what's out, and we shot it nearly 2 years ago, so I'm sort of struggling to remember details of it, but I seem to remember there were times when I would just sort of not speak for a minute, and everyone would kind of look around like, what's supposed to happen now? And I just thought, that awkwardness was just great.
I think so too. The silence is incredibly powerful, and I think that a lot of actors relish silence. I mean, that makes everyone kind of stand at attention those moments. But you mentioned that
suddenly the silence becomes very loud, doesn't it?
Yes. And you mentioned that you shot this something like 2 years ago. Does it feel odd for you that, in this month period, we're seeing In Their Skin and Cloud Atlas, and soon we're going to see Hitchcock? I mean, it's a really great, productive time for you now. Does it feel that way for you?
Well, they all came out on top of each other. They were sort of a little more spread out when we shot them. But I suppose, look, the truth is, In Their Skin is a very small film that I'm thrilled is going to get a release. And if the somewhat higher profile of Cloud Atlas and Hitchcock helps more people to go see it, then I'm very happy.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic film. Can I ask you just one quick question about Anthony Perkins? Because this fascinates me, because Psycho's one of our favorite movies, obviously, for many people it is, and we've studied it extensively throughout the years. And I'm curious, in your research about Mr. Perkins, what was the aspect of his personality or his approach to the role that most surprised you?
Well, I think the thing that most surprised me, and maybe you know this already if you've done a lot of your research on Psycho, I always thought that Hitchcock was pretty dictatorial and that actors were semi-puppets that kind of were to stand where he told them to stand and deliver the dialogue as instructed. And that does not appear to be the case on Psycho at all. Perkins and Hitchcock were really friendly. And so the candy corn is Anthony Perkins' idea. Hitchcock was very collaborative with Perkins on the set, which was a really interesting discovery. I had not thought that would be the case at all.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see it. I think you're a phenomenal actor, and I congratulate you on In Their Skin. It's a great movie.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate that.